weeping, and Father wasn't strong enough to stop the flood or stand firm against it. No man was. My sister's heart was as soft and gooey as oatmeal. She could turn her tears on and off like a modern-day plumbing faucet, and was capable of unleashing buckets of them. Alice was 16 and so beautiful that brilliant men became stupid whenever they were around her. I loved my grandmother, and I greatly admired her ferocity and passion. Mind you, these weren't qualities that polite society admired in women, but they fascinated me. Even so, I didn't want to be like my fiery grandmother and end up in jail, any more than I wanted to be a dutiful wife like Mother or a virtuous siren like Alice. But how was I supposed to live as a modern woman, born just before the dawn of the 20th century? What other choices did I have? That's the question I was endeavoring to answer when I ended up in jail. Grandma had given up on coaching Mother and Alice, her current saviors, ironically, and had begun putting all her effort into shaping me. She made that decision after she saw me kick Tommy O'Reilly in the shin one day when he tried to bully me into giving him my candy. Tommy was the constable's son, and he bullied all the kids in town. But that day, I took a step toward him as if about to give him a cinnamon stick and kicked his bony shin instead. "You, my dear, have potential," Grandma said as Tommy hopped around on one leg, howling. "You'll never float downstream, Harriet. You know how to paddle." I followed my father out to the front hallway.
"May I go with you to rescue Grandma?"
"Certainly not. Jail is no place for a delicate young lady." Back then I didn't believe him, but the truth of his statement was now quite clear to me as I lay in my own jail cell. Father plucked his duster and driving gloves from the hall stand and stuffed his hat on his balding head, muttering darkly about Grandma Bebe as he headed out the door. I skipped along beside him, nodding in support. Together we started up the Model T Ford, and I jumped into the passenger seat. The car rattled and coughed all the way to the end of the block before he realized I was still there. "Oh, bother it all, Harriet. I suppose you're already here." Father turned his attention back to the car as it sputtered and nearly died.
"It needs more throttle," I said, pulling out the lever. "Advance the spark a little."
"But you aren't coming inside, Harriet. I mean it. Jail isn't the sort of place, and your grandmother has no business." I nodded dutifully and followed him inside the police station just the same. Father went straight in to see the constable, Thomas O'Reilly Sr. He told us that Grandma Bebe had been arrested after trying to close down a saloon last night. Most of the other members of the Women's Christian Temperance Union had gone home peacefully once the police arrived to break up the protest, but not Grandma. She had refused to give up the fight against the evils of demon rum. "And I'm afraid we had to confiscate her axe," he finished. Father nodded and paid her fine. In no time at all, Grandma Bebe was liberated from jail. We heard her shouting all the way down the hall as a policeman tried to lead her out of the cell.
"No, wait! Unhand me this instant. I'm not ready to leave. This jail is filled with drunkards, the very people I'm trying to rescue."
Constable O'Reilly rolled his eyes. "It's been a very long night, John. Get her out of here, please." We drove Grandma home. Like the brave soldiers who had gone to war 45 years earlier to battle the evils of slavery, my grandmother was willing to sacrifice her own liberty if necessary to set men free from slavery to alcohol. And that was the ultimate irony, I thought, as I lay on the lumpy jail cot pondering my own arrest and imprisonment. You see, Grandma Bebe had recently won the war against demon rum. The 18th Amendment to the United States Constitution had become a law a few months ago on January 29, 1920, making the manufacture, sale, and transportation of all alcoholic beverages strictly prohibited. And I was in jail for defying it. My grandmother was young once, and not altogether sure of herself. I find this unbelievable.